What's up, Virgo, and welcome to your June 2020 Creativity Tarot reading. My name is Kayleigh Jean, and welcome to my channel. I record these readings for artists, entrepreneurs, and anybody who is working on their personal growth, self-expression, or spirituality in any form. So if those areas of life are important for you right now, I encourage you to go ahead and keep listening. I also want to say really quickly, because I get asked this a lot, you can use this reading for your sun, moon, or your rising sign, and it's also very possible that sometimes they don't resonate. It's just a general reading, and at the same time, you may find that if you come back to this video at the end of the month, there could be some interesting themes that prove to be actually similar to the themes that you experience in your own life. So I encourage you to go ahead and come back to this video at the end of the month if you want to experiment with that. Okay, Virgo, we have a lot to cover in your reading, but what I want to first discuss with you is the message that came through in the meditation. This is a really interesting meditation that I experienced for you guys, and it made me really intrigued for the energy of the month ahead. So one of the things that I picked up was a sense of almost like an unexpected opportunity to either be a leader in some way this month, or an unexpected opportunity to kind of, I want to say, be a person of influence, I guess. And so you know that my readings mostly focus on career, creativity, and business. So the way that this could manifest, obviously, in your business might be opportunities coming your way, doing interviews, or launching something, doing something for the first time, starting out with a new platform, that kind of thing. But even on a personal level, this month could present you with kind of like a surprising opportunity to influence another person in your own life. So somebody who doesn't normally come to you for advice might come to you and be really vulnerable and say, you know, I've been thinking about talking to you about this for a long time, and you know, here's how I've been feeling. And you might be kind of surprised at like what they have to say, right? Like you might not have really realized that that person was maybe struggling as much because they weren't letting it on to anybody, or maybe you had a feeling that they were, but they weren't talking to anybody about it, and you surprisingly are the person that they come to. So in that way, you could also find yourself in a position to influence other people or another person, but you weren't necessarily planning for that. So again, I don't want to just say it's only for entrepreneurs and creative people. If it could also manifest in your private life, you know, in your friend circle or your family circle. So those are just some things to keep in mind. The other message that I was getting is specifically for my Virgoan healers out there. So many of you guys are healers of some kind or another. I know that I have a lot of nurses and nurse practitioners on this channel, RNs, that are Virgos. I've specifically seen comments from you guys. I've done readings for a lot of Virgos who are involved in the nursing profession. I've also done a lot of connecting on a personal basis with many of you who are other types of healers, like Reiki healers or life coaches. And if you relate to one of those, I feel like there's something that's going on in June that is like, I want to say it's like either you're interacting with someone, either through your career maybe, or a client of yours, or a patient of yours, or a customer of yours. And there's going to be like this sense of, okay, I feel like I'm going into unexplored territory with this person. Like, let's say if you're a very practical, you know, healer, and you do a specific kind of thing, like maybe you're an acupuncturist, let's say, you might start connecting with somebody that you're working on in a very shamanic sense, or you might be picking up on energies that you don't normally get. And there's going to be this moment, and I'm using this as a metaphor, okay, but there's going to be this moment of like, oh, should I say this to this person? Because this isn't my field of expertise, but it's coming through really strongly. Like maybe you don't identify as a medium, but you're getting messages from somebody who feels like a deceased person in your client or your patient or your customer's life. there's this moment of hesitation, and I think it's rightful to be hesitant to share something, especially if you're not sure if it's accurate or if it's not your wheelhouse, Virgo. I totally understand your position of wanting to be ethical and wanting to really only say things that you can absolutely back up with your, certificates or your education or your background. But I also feel that there's this message that Spirit is really pushing forward right now for you, that's saying, say it with a disclaimer or something, because if you're getting something that for someone, it may be a client or maybe a person in your life, if you're getting a special message for them, and you're not sure of it, just say, I'm not sure about this. I don't know why I'm getting this, why I'm sensing this, but for some reason, I just feel like I need to say this to you. And then just out with it, because I think that you are really protected this month, Virgo. And I keep coming back to this feeling of surprise, like something's unexpected about this, something's not your wheelhouse, something's unusual, but you are picking up something real. You're picking up something real, Virgo. So again, whether this is in your artistry or your career or your creativity, or it's something in your family life, there's this very strong inclination coming through that you're getting something, you're picking up something, Virgo. You're very astute. Don't kind of push it to the side just because it's not the terminology you usually work with, or it's not a modality that you generally use. Just because it's not familiar to you doesn't mean that you're not picking up on something that's very real. So that's the message, is trust and know that you are being protected and guided in whatever work you do, whether you're a fiction writer or you're a registered nurse. Whatever you're putting energy into this month, you are being guided. You can trust in your ability to receive and transmit useful information, even if it's not something that you're super comfortable doing, or if it's not something that you're really familiar with. So you're being given the opportunity to really step into an amplified version of yourself as a creator or as a healer or just as a human being. And I think that it's important for you to get this message, if you're hearing this, to step into that and trust. I even see, as I'm saying this, I see this face kind of upturned to the light, there's light shining down on someone's face, and it's just they're whew, it's giving me chills. It's setting the intention to actually receive and be a transmitter of the intuitive and subtle information and frequencies that you're picking up on. And that does require faith, but you do possess what you need to possess in order to do that. Okay, that's my spiel, Virgo. I hope it's helpful. Let's go ahead and take a look at your cards, and we'll get some more insight. Virgo. Okay. Okay, and I'm actually going to get your Animal Spirit Oracle cards. Virgo, please, Spirit, please clear loving guidance for the Virgos. And your Bob Ross message. Okay, let's take a look here. Wow, so we've got Buffalo and the Tarantula. You guys know the buffalo is a favorite on this channel. This card comes up a lot, and it's really one of my favorite cards to talk about. So what we see here with your path and then the influencing card can be an obstacle. It can also be just an energy that you are contending with. In this case, this is pretty significant energy, Virgo, and I keep coming back to this feeling I don't know if you expected June to be like this very transformative month. In some ways for Virgos, it seems like, you know, Taurus season, you know, when the sun is going through Taurus and we've got all of these trines and contacts, positive contacts to the planets and points that you have in Virgo, it seems like Taurus season would be more the time that we would expect big changes, whereas Gemini season and Cancer season, you know, I mean, there's some definite connections for sure, but you know, I just keep coming back to this feeling, Virgos, like you maybe think that June is going to be a certain way, and it actually is going to be much more profound of a month than you're expecting, which is exciting, but it's also one of those things where I can feel that some of you are like, I don't know if I like that. But, you know, let's just trust and proceed with trust in these energies. So the first, you know, card that we want to talk about obviously is your path card for the month, which is the Buffalo. The Buffalo is a really powerful, strong, grounded energy. And you're an earth sign, so this definitely feels like it matches up with you. But we are going into eclipse season, and you can think of eclipse season as a stormy time, you know, astrologically, because we have all of these activations going on when we have eclipses, and we have the solstice, and we have a solar eclipse a couple hours after the solstice. So it's just pretty wild what we have going on this month. There's a lot of like eruptions of the astrology. I personally think that it's going to bring in a lot of opportunity, right? But there is something with the Buffalo card that makes me feel like you are probably going to feel some of those activations in the eclipse pattern that we have coming up. So the first message is to proceed with a sense of calm and groundedness within yourself as you go into this, because no matter what happens, you've got this, Virgo. That's what this card is saying, is you are grounded, you are sturdy within yourself, you have everything that you need. You're fully stocked. You know, you're like a prepper, you know, like ready for, you know, whatever's coming. But I don't see it as being a bad thing, actually, that's coming up. I feel like it's more life choices that we see coming up in your life, Virgo. So you might not realize the extent to which the decisions you make this month in June are going to affect your overall trajectory in your life. But the tarantula card coming up here is showing you that they are going to actually be pretty significant in terms of where your life is headed. And I think the tarantula card as well is really, it's a crossroads card, and it shows that one of the biggest themes for you this month is really going to be about understanding what you actually want in your life, and then taking, you know, practical steps every single day to move you in that direction. I know that that is something that you will hear about across so many different like platforms and ways of thinking, but it really is so true that when you work closely with an individual who has a lot of issues going on, maybe a lot of chaos in their life, maybe they, you know, are in between, they're in a major time of transition. If you work with that individual like one step at a time to sort of set reasonable goals for themselves and really think about the life that they want to experience, and then they start taking actions towards that, and they consistently take actions towards that, invariably their life improves, right? And it's hard work. It's not easy to change careers, right? When you are super established in a career, you have a degree, you've put in all this time, you put in the years, and then you're like, okay, I don't want to be doing this anymore. This is killing my soul. I need to change directions. That's a huge thing, and that is going to take a period of time to do that. It's not like you can just flip a switch on the momentum that is already going. And I'm just using this as a frame of reference. I'm just using this as an example, but apply it to your own life in whatever way it makes sense. It's like what we see here, Virgo, is actually this very capable, very, what's the word that I'm looking for? Yeah, like it's capability, it's competence, Virgo, it's competence. We see competence in these cards for you in June. It's like this unexpected opportunity comes up in June for you to demonstrate your competence, your ability to rise to the challenges of life, your ability to direct your own destiny. That's what we're seeing in these cards. So let's take a look at the particulars of how that could come into existence. So we've got the Emperor and the Empress, wow, with the King of Wands, the Knight of Cups, the Moon, the Hermit, the Sun, and the Five of Wands. Wow. Interesting. This is a fascinating reading. So, you've got the Sun and the Moon here. You have the Emperor and the Empress. So this is really going to be showing some significant, I guess I want to say, comparing and contrasting going on. I do see like a proverbial fly in the ointment in this reading that may be affecting some of you on a very visceral, like vivid level. And then the fly in the ointment for some of you may also be quite internal and something that you're going through privately. But I do see something being kind of like almost like an influence that isn't like, it's like it's not kosher or something. There's an influence in this reading that you're recognizing doesn't necessarily belong somehow. And so you're thinking constructively about how to solve not just that, like the fact that that influence is there and the fact that it's maybe troubling you in some way, but it's more about going down to the root of the influence and kind of pulling it out at the root. So and then filling the gap, like filling the hole with delicious, healthy soil so that a toxic weed can't grow there again. And the reason I say this is because you've got a monarch, you've got like these two monarchs, right, with the Emperor and the Empress, but then you have this King of Wands, which in this context is almost making me feel like, well, to me, the King of Wands is a step beneath the Emperor and the Empress. So this is like these two people are in their empire. They rule over their world. All is right in the world when the Emperor and the Empress are, seated in their position of power. And I'm speaking about this in terms of an individual. Like when you are oriented towards the sovereignty of your own life, you're in charge, you're not giving your power away to anybody, you are fulfilling your responsibilities and obligations, you create a sort of sustainable peace around you. And it doesn't have to look like this. It doesn't have to be like husband and wife, although that might be the situation. It can also be a lot of other ways that this energy can play out. But either way, there's like something that is in order, right? Something that is a function of the order or the pattern that you would like to see in your life. Something's working, Virgo. But then there's this King of Wands energy with the Knight of Cups. So there's this other influence. It could be another person. And if it's externalized, it's an individual who's trying to come in between these two people or trying to insert some kind of new energy into a situation that is already very well established, like a relationship or like a business. There's like maybe somebody who wants to shake things up if you have a team, for example. If it's externalized, if it's not an externalized influence, then the King of Wands can represent a part of you that is feeling very spirited and very creative and that wants to be more dynamic and flowing in your life because it's with the Knight of Cups. So what I see here is like something is going well as you go into June, but then at the time of the penumbral lunar eclipse that we have in your 4th house, that is potentially going to shake up the stability or the core or the foundation of your life in some way. When you have a lunar eclipse in the 4th house, this is symbolic, by the way. You would have to look at your chart to see, where this is actually falling, but symbolically for Virgos, Sagittarius is the 4th house. And so for you, this could in general be representing this eclipse shaking up a pattern of energy when it comes to your home, your living situation, or what gives you security and what makes you feel rooted. That can be a physical location such as an office as well, I would include. So if you normally work, outside of the home, you could maybe expect some changes in the office, situation as well, because it's like a comfortable place where you dwell. It's a comfortable place where you have a certain sense of security. But more often than not, it has to do with the home life. So with the King of Wands and the Knight of Cups, showing up after that eclipse, it's almost like the eclipse kind of shakes things up or stirs things up for you a little bit. And with the King of Wands and the Knight of Cups, it's like you are finding this alternative inspiration. Like there's this new inspiration for this new path. And in order to live that out, you would have to become more, I guess, adaptable than you are right now. And that's this tarantula energy, this crossroads point, right? So either a person shaking up the stability within like a relationship in your life, or a group that has a certain amount of stability, and somebody might be raising a little bit of hell. Or it could be an aspect of you that's like, I really want to innovate. I want to do something different. I'm feeling like I need to expand and explore. So that's the first half of June, right? We have that sense of like everything's right in the world and then something gets shaken up a little bit, but it's because of the passions being stirred. It's not because of someone, doing anything inherently negative, I wouldn't say. It's more like there's just this passion coming into the picture. So, but then we have, again, the Emperor and the Empress of the astrological world. We have the Sun and the Moon, right? These are two other monarchs, but these are the monarchs of our solar system. The monarchs of our solar system when viewed from Earth, I should say. Geocentrically, the Sun and the Moon are the sort of Lord and Lady, the cosmic god and goddess that we have. So we get this repeating theme again where Emperor, Empress, Sun, Moon. This is going to be a constant interplay for you, Virgo, and I feel like it's so unusual that it's hard for me to even translate how this energy is going to play out. But what I get with these cards, the Sun and the Moon, and then you also have the Emperor and the Five of Wands. So what is the Hermit, I meant to say the Hermit and the Five of Wands. What is the Hermit? The Hermit is Virgo. So there you are, sandwiched between the Sun and the Moon. And then we also have Saturn in Leo with the Five of Wands. Okay, so the Five of Wands card correlates astrologically to Saturn in Leo. So again, we get this sense of something. Saturn doesn't belong in Leo. Saturn's in detriment in Leo. So again, there's a sense of a fly in the ointment. There's a sense of recognizing something that's like a cold spot along a warm, bright, sunny horizon. And it's not about focusing in on that and beating yourself up about it, Virgo. It's not about that at all. It's more about recognizing that when you do have something that's out of place in your life, it's a good idea to address it first of all, but addressing it, like I said before, from the root so that you are able to really understand the full implications of why it's there. For example, maybe you have some money block issues. Maybe you have a very resistant attitude towards abundance, but for whatever reason, the circumstances of your life are really repeatedly showing you that you need to work on that. You need to work on your willingness to receive, your willingness to value yourself more highly, your willingness to be more assertive in negotiation situations as well. This is a time perhaps for you, Virgo, to really stand in your truth with the Hermit card showing up. This is your card. So it's about really being strong within yourself, no matter what the cycles outside of you are doing, right? With the Sun and the Moon. It's like finding where you belong in the cosmos, in a way, sort of is about recognizing where you are along this spectrum, I guess. Like, we're using the sky as a metaphor for like the broad expanse of your life and all of the different roles that you have, and seeing, you know, where you need to make real adjustments in order to exist more harmoniously or exist more sustainably as well, because that can be an issue for Virgos. You're such a service-oriented sign. It's not like you don't have a backbone, because you definitely do. You definitely do. You will have that ability very strongly to defend yourself or protect yourself. I mean, Virgos, and it comes from your intellect, right? It comes from your ability to see what's really going on in situations. And I think because you have that perspective, you are able to verbalize it, right? When you are backed into a corner, when you do have those buttons pushed, you're gonna come out and say, well, you know, in practical terms, that actually doesn't make sense because blah, blah, blah. And you'll have your way of working things out in a very meticulous manner, because that's a very Virgoan thing. But in general, you're such a service-oriented sign. Sometimes even when you can see that a situation isn't really playing to your strengths, okay, or isn't honoring and valuing your strengths, or when you can see that you are being taken advantage of, or that you and a group of people are being taken advantage of by maybe an organization or a company that you all work for, or you know, any number of situations where you could see that your efforts aren't really being fairly compensated, or you yourself have set yourself up into a situation in your life where you're not able to be compensating yourself fairly. Maybe you're a service-oriented entrepreneur and you just aren't charging enough. Or you are spending tons of extra time answering emails, and you know, you're always available to people, and maybe you're starting to realize that actually doesn't work for you. Maybe you have to find some new rules for yourself. That's kind of what I see with you, kind of sandwiched between the sun and the moon, is like you're going on a new journey that has a lot to do with recognizing where you stand in relation to everything else, in relation to the other people in your industry, in relation to your obligations to people that you take care of in your family life, in like relative to the amount of time and money and effort that you've put into learning your craft, right? This is all about understanding relatively where you are standing, right? Like, I hope that doesn't feel too repetitive, but it's like you are recognizing that where you stand in relation to everything else demands that you ask for more from yourself and from life and from other people. It demands that you set a higher bar. And I think that that's what you're dealing with right now, is that this is going to change. It's going to upset the apple cart. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I do think that it will change things. It will require you to behave differently in different situations, that in situations where you are now recognizing that your behavior was not self-honoring enough. And that's what we see with the Five of Wands here at the end of the month. I don't want to sugarcoat this, because I really want to be clear that although I do feel with the Sun card that you will make a lot of progress and that you will succeed with putting yourself out there in some new way, so that looks amazing. This looks like a lot of great success. There's also going to be like a sense that at the end of June, whatever processes are initiated this month are not going to have a conclusion yet. At the end of June, I expect that you're going to have a lot of good things going for you, Virgo, with the sun there. That's also right after the solar eclipse in after the solstice. So it's showing that you are rising, you know, after that experience. But that eclipse is actually in your 11th house. So that's going to be bringing this sense with eclipses shaking up energy. It's potentially shaking up energy within, where is it? Your 11th house. So it's your community, your networking, your friends, your professional network basically as well. So with Saturn and Leo there, and then the Leo rulership of the sun, it's just interesting to me because it feels to me like this spread is actually saying that as you go into summer, one of the biggest things that you're going to be working through for the duration of the summer, maybe, or at least through Leo season, which is a couple more seasons to go, you know, before we finish that, there is going to be a need to be adaptive and a need to be flexible and a need to recognize that maybe groups where there's a lot of conflict are not necessarily where you want to be. You need to be around people who are actually intentional and who are valuing your services as much as you're valuing theirs. So there's a real shift in terms of self-worth that we're seeing here. I wanted to get your Bob Ross message, and it says, it's interesting. Oh, it's life. I'm sorry, guys. It's life. It's interesting. It's fun. So I think this is going to be interesting, but I think it will also be fun. It's really, really interesting and fun. So, okay, I'm going to get you a surrender card. I've been doing this for all the signs this month. Virgo. Ooh, we've got surrender, stubbornness. Remember I was just talking about being adaptive and flexible? This is so spooky. If you're tensing up or taking a rigid stance about something, gently observe yourself and become more yielding. This will help you communicate more lovingly with others and yourself. I rest my case. I think that this is, you know, it is about being adaptive. It is about being flexible. You don't have to stay where you are. You can level up. You can also be yielding in situations where, you know, others are bringing more tension, because sometimes that has the effect of reducing the tension, right? But then, you know, you can also feel free to back away from that situation completely if that's like what you feel you need to do. But overall, I think you definitely have the strength, like as far as the Emperor and the Empress go, like I think you really do have a core person or a core group around you that will really back you up no matter what. I also think that you yourself are very strong at this time, Virgo. So, you know, no matter what you see going on around you, it's kind of like the events of 2020 in general for all of us. I think it has really shown us that life can get a lot weirder than we ever imagined, and we're actually really competent and really capable of, you know, succeeding and thriving or thinking constructively even in very adaptive and changing situations. So if anything, this should give you more of like a belief in how you can rely on yourself. Okay? So I'm sending you tons of love, Virgo. I hope this reading has been helpful for someone out there. If you enjoyed this reading, please leave me a little emoji below with a little earth emoji, or just say I'm still here, or write earth exclamation point and let me know. I love seeing those little comments from you guys, and they are so supportive to my channel. Also, please feel free to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss any readings or any educational content that I'm going to be putting out over the summer. So I'm really excited for that. I am sending you all tons of love. I want to thank you for being here. If you'd like to donate to support my channel, I would be eternally grateful. I say a prayer for 1,000-fold well-being and blessings to go back to each donation. I say that prayer out loud every time I receive a donation. So if you'd like to support my channel, even just $1 would be fantastic and so helpful for me in my business at this time. So I'll put the information in the link for that below. Thank you for being here, Virgo. I'm sending you a huge hug, and I will talk to you next time.